Michael Keaton steps behind the camera for the second time in his career as the director of Knox Goes Away, but is it worth rushing out to the theaters or should be holding off on it? Hey everyone, welcome to Cinema, where we focus on the film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know down in the comments below if you've seen Knox Goes Away. Do you really enjoy it? Are you on the downer side of it? Or are you on the fence of going out to see it because you just need to see a review, see if it's worth checking out and not wasting your time? But looking at the synopsis of this film, Michael Keaton plays this contract killer that's looking on the plans for retirement going away, but there's certain things that go awry in his final fight and certain things going wrong with his son, and as a strange son, he's going to have to redeem himself in a way to save the life of his son. And so going right into the positive, I just enjoy the tropes and commonalities that this film has. It has a lot of the ideas that kind of work for what the premise is asking of it, and so it goes about all these story beats that are familiar but play it safe, at least to the general gist of what this thriller is asking. Having this guy going into dementia and having the son, the problem with the son, and what they have to do, the mysteries behind certain things, and how he's resolving with his dementia and getting deeper into that, while also his son has his incident of his own, that there's certain things that you have to figure out along the way that creates a little bit of a mystery, and by the end it does have a certain payoff that does create a moment of suspense that also along the way creates a nice detective story. You get this common type of story where you're getting detectives trying to piece together the clues, but because of certain aspects of the main character, the man with dementia, and what the son has, and what all plays about with those particular characters, things aren't always playing out in the easiest way. So you get to see the interesting aspects that plays along with that. But going into the mix elements, the commonalities of this film does play a big aspect to whether you may like this film or it's just a genre driving film that doesn't give you anything special, and so it's not inherently bad by those aspects. But if you're looking for a fresh, unique idea for something with the dementia, with how they play that out, it's not going to offer anything super spectacular or special, even with Michael Keaton behind the director's chair, to which with that, as his directing goes, it's fairly generic in the common things. There's even some shots that aren't necessarily bad, but they're not as well lit to where it doesn't feel as professional of a film. It feels fairly generic, or it feels like they're on the real locations and not sets, which works in some cases, but there's some parts of the movie where it feels like they're shooting in tight corners, so they almost have the actor looking at the screen when it's not meant to present that particular mood. And so it creates this weird dynamic of how the film is shot, certain cinematography that isn't particularly special. And so there's just some choice decisions along the way how they go about resolving that the film doesn't feel particularly special because of that. And also with Michael Keaton as the director, he's also the star of the film, and so that also it seems to put a divide on how well he's acting, or at least with how the story plays out and the camera shots themselves. It doesn't always line up to where he's giving the star performance we've seen from him in the past. It feels relatively generic, not particularly bad, but something that just doesn't stand out from a real star director. Even Richard Marsden, his performance, he's familiar with the craft, and you're getting some great performances from him in the past, but there's nothing particularly that stands out from his role. It could be part of the writing, which is relatively generic just based on how the story plays out, and so you're not really expecting something spectacular from this film, but it still offers something that really drives the genre of this film. If that's just something you're relatively wanting to go into a movie, have a decent time, having fun watching Michael Keaton or Richard Marsden, if you're a fan of them, you may get something out of what that is all going for. But going into some of the negatives, there are certain aspects of the film, what they do with the dementia, that doesn't particularly land. We've seen dementia played out in films before. This isn't teaching us anything new, and it has this certain film editing aspect that makes it slightly different, but it isn't particularly special or is standing out in a positive manner just by the way they're doing certain flashes or black screen. It's really quick how they transport certain scenes. It's not particularly confusing in the way that you're expecting. If you're wanting to connect with the character in the same way he is viewing dementia, then you're not particularly feeling all the emotion or the confusion behind that character, how he's experiencing life with dementia. And that's part of the setbacks for Michael Keaton's performance, is it feels like he's attempting to play a guy having dementia rather than someone with dementia playing a natural character that has that. And obviously there's certain tropes to the writing that sets this back, that takes away the drive that makes this film with dementia make sense. And also there's a bunch of scenes where the only characters that really know Michael Keaton's character has dementia is himself, his friend, and the doctor. And so just the way that all plays out, it doesn't really get the emotions driven out in a fancy way that really levels on with the directors getting emotional connection with the other characters. They certainly find out near the end once certain things play into effect as it's rapidly evolving throughout the film. You get the progression from that, but it doesn't particularly stand out for portraying dementia in this empathetic sort of way of the depressing moment where someone is really losing their memory of certain aspects of things. And there's certain aspects to what the father to son relationship works out in a way that doesn't particularly feel special. You're building upon an idea of a premise that should create an empathetic connection where this son is estranged to his father for over a decade, and they don't quite have that sympathetic idea or approach to the subject. It's a fairly quick connection. It doesn't have fantastic chemistry. It has enough, but it still doesn't stand out as the way that you should expect an emotional connection for such a long time apart. And it almost plays a part of having a sob story for the son that doesn't build upon the weight of the soldiers, upon the tension that you should be expecting for a story of that weight. And so that's just generally the gist of what this film has to go in for it. It's not particularly bad as a whole, but it plays everything relatively generic, and that's why I have to rate this film a simply 5 out of 10, and that's just my general thoughts on this film. Let me know down in the comments below if you've seen it, do you like it, or are you on the same boat as me, or if you checked out this video and just waiting to see if you're going to see it. Let me know down in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, help me build this film culture community as we talk about the love of cinema all together. So that's just all. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.